So while 50% of our company is technology focused, we recognize that marketers don't just need more technology. What marketers really need is the right technology that can actually make a difference in their business. But they also may need some hand-holding, a partner that is going to educate them and their team and give them a high quality of service. And that's one thing that we found that we typically do very well at Chango. And when we talk to people, that's where they say we really make the difference, is being able to have that higher level of service and have that managed partnership. We've had some amazing success stories with working with 75 of the top 500 retailers, and we've also had extensive experience in many other verticals. We power everything that's programmatic from some of the largest companies in the world, and we work with people in various ways, whether it be full service or through a more directed self-service engagement, which we give access to our interfaces. So really the full spectrum of what we've done. And we've had a great year, grew 700% last year, and that's mainly because of the success we've had with our clients and the things we've been doing. So how can Chango help? What can we do that we have this company? How can we help you? So what does it look like when somebody engages with Chango? What are they actually doing? Well, typically it falls into three main categories you see here: brand awareness, prospecting, and we do a much more efficient version of retargeting in comparison with what most marketers are currently doing today. And we wrap all of that up with detailed audience insights that not only complete the circle, but also closes a lot of the gaps and help marketers better understand who their audience is. Many times we're able to find a new audience even that maybe the marketer hadn't looked at or maybe hadn't seen in the past, and we're able, through what we're doing, be able to find a new niche audience that can really make a difference in revenue and what they're doing. It's really all about the diversity of our data and how we're able to output it. So this gives you a good idea of what things look like. So our programmatic marketing platform. When you're looking at everything we're doing, we're bringing in the best of first-party data, and we're going to talk a little more detail about that. We're also bringing in our search intent data, where Chango holds the largest amount of search data next to Google. And we're also building into it first-party data as far as CRM data and different things that you may hold at your company to be able to really make a difference and really fine-tune what we're already doing. And we're doing that across a platform, which is actually a DMP, a data management platform, and a DSP, all in the same place. So you can see how with this, we can have a lot of efficiencies by manipulating the data, by filtering that data, by really understanding and taking into account in real time. And that's a real difference when it comes to us as far as what we can do. And then being able to not only understand that data, but then to take it into inventory resources and be able to output it in the right place at the right time to the right person with what they want, whether it's display, video, social, or mobile. We're going to be able to hit on all cylinders when it comes to that. So let's look at the evolution of advertising. So when we look at video, we have to talk a little bit about the box there, TV. And when I think about, there wasn't a lot of programming going on for the most part. You knew what your demo, what shows they were watching. You knew where you could find them. And many shows crossed various demos because there wasn't much choice back then. At night, you all gathered around and watched The Tonight Show or The Honeymooners. We all got in a room, and you knew you were going to be with TV, be able to reach that audience. Being from Texas, I do remember my family huddled around the TV wondering who shot JR. So that was a big moment in my life. I don't know if that's very impressive, but that's good. So really, it was a different time, a different way to be able to really get targeted what we're doing. So now it's become a lot more complex. Now things are complicated. Networks, cable, on-demand, shows produced just for online. And then DVRs really screwed it all up for us in the ad world. Now I can't even count on the person I'm watching. You can't even count who's watching, who's sitting there watching, what they're watching. And probably the only thing we can count on is something like the Super Bowl, right, where we know that everybody's going to be in one place, or a majority of the people in the U.S. are going to be in one place watching the Super Bowl. And that's why it's so expensive, right? So you also have to worry about what they're consuming, your content. How are they consuming your content? What are the other digital components that we need to be worried about? If they want to watch and tweet or tweet and watch, we need to be able to accommodate them. Online video has changed this. And that's why advertisers are flocking to it. So the big light in the distance is the fact that now we have more ways to reach people, and we can reach them on their terms with the message in the format and the device they prefer. And we can reach them more often, no matter where they try to hide. Ha, ha, ha. Evil laugh, evil laugh. So it's one thing we talk about stalking. We talk about trying to, everybody, when you think about retargeting, you think about different things in the industry where, do I want ads served to me the way I want them? And it can get a little scary. And I know Dax, our CRO, tells a story. He has this slide, actually, that has a couple walking down a nice beach. And it says, stalking is when two people go on a long romantic walk together, but only one of them knows about it. So really, that's where we are. As a marketer, you don't want to stalk customers, but you do want to be able to lend value and do it at the right time, and the prospective customer is open to it. Programmatic is all about being more efficient, not serving more ads. That's one thing to really understand. We now have the opportunity to build relationships with people as a person in the industry. I want to know. I want to be able to help companies build relationships. I don't just want to help companies market. I want to be able to help companies build relationships. I want to help companies have valuable conversations. And I think that's what marketers want. And as a consumer, I really want all of this because I want only to see the ads that are based on me and not others. I no longer need to worry about what branded diapers to buy when there are a lot more relevant products out there that would work for me. I'm done with the diapers. I'm past all that, thank God. If I'm watching a show with my wife, I would much rather that ad go directly to her iPad than out to the whole room in full-blown HDTHX. And she feels the same way about those athlete foot ads probably as I feel about some of the other ads. So we want that, but we don't want to get the feeling of attracting people. So we want to be able to reach people when they want to be interacted with. And that's where we're moving with able to have the sight and sound assets and all the great things about video and be able to tie that into what we're doing now. So at the IAB Digital Content Newsfronts Conference earlier this year, they did a little survey, and one of the questions was this, and that was, in the next 12 months, how likely do you think it is media buyers will shift more dollars to digital video, right? So this was asked to people out there at the conference, and about 70% from both sides were on the undecided to very likely side of the fence. So about 30 to 40% were saying, I'm planning to do it, and another 35 to 40% are saying that I know it's important, but maybe I don't know how to get there yet. So the key is really to the slide that marketers are understanding the need. They're moving this way. All the numbers show us that this is where things are going. And they also understand that performance can be even higher than TV. So when you start looking at the targetable, the flexibility, the efficiency, and the cost, it makes sense where we're starting to see more and more people move this way. Much more efficient, and it will not replace traditional TV and interactive TV, but it will make it better. It will make it more actionable. That's what we're seeing out there with customers. So how is this spend being shifted? So marketers are shifting spend to online and programmatic. So as you see this, you're seeing basically you're looking at total spend online advertising in billions, and you're seeing the spend in RTB. And what we're finding is as the total online video spend continues to increase, it's been increasing like crazy, what we're finding too is RTB is increasing as well, and also increasing at a faster rate in many cases because of the fact that RTB makes it easier to work with video. Programmatic is more interesting when it comes to video. So when people think about video, a lot of times they think, well, I don't have assets, creative obstacles, it sounds like it's going to be hard. We got to go through a publisher. We got to go through a video-specific vendor. And what RTB has done is made it really open the door for having more programmatic campaigns that can include video and can help the rest of what you're doing, whether it's display or social or mobile. So it's all about making it easier to buy it and also making it where you're making a smarter decision on when to run it, why to run it, and if this person consuming the content, if that's the way they want it. Because in the end, we want them to be able to have it the way they want it, and that's what we're seeing when it comes to the shift in RTB. So Preroll is growing really fast. So what we're finding is that, when we look at all the different units out there, and we focus on Preroll right now, we're finding that Preroll is the fastest growing, and it makes sense, right? So, many companies, they have TV spots. They're either repurposing their TV spots or it's something that they're used to buying. So we're pulling that out and we're putting that into finding that Preroll has been a real hit, and it was a natural movement from CPG companies and others moving into it. We do also see second as social and promoted content, branded content, display, large format. But what we're finding out is Preroll is the major growing trend to this, and that's where most people are going, and that's what we're talking about. So what is a Preroll ad? So a Preroll ad, basically, whenever you've been on YouTube and you've looked at this content, and before the content, you see an ad roll where some people, you may not want to watch the content, sometimes you may, but it's running a 10 to 60 second pre-roll spot in front of whatever content you're trying to view. Now some of this content can be pre-roll, there's also mid-rolls and other things that you can do, but pre-rolls are the predominant that you're going to see out there. So you're going to be able to see this ad and then move on to it. And some also you're able to have permission pre-rolls where you're able to look at the ad, or you can actually X out of it and be able to come back at it later. But that's the main unit as far as a pre-roll. So the benefits of programmatic video. So video is securely in the driver's seat as it leads the digital advertising category and overall growth. So from 2012 to 2013, video saw the greatest increase in spending among all U.S. digital ad formats, as expected to reach a little over $4 billion by the end of year 2. So nearly half of the survey respondents to this survey say clients considering targeting the most valuable aspect of advertising. So targeting is what they're looking at as the most valuable. This followed by reach, 27%, continuing a similar trend from last year. And then also one interesting thing was price relative to TV is considered the third most important aspect of video advertising, about 10%. So yet most advertisers found video to be just as effective as TV. In fact, 3 in 4 respondents found that video advertising was equally or more effective than TV, a 70% increase from last year. So an overwhelming 91% of respondents found video to be equally or more effective than display, a response that has grown rapidly year to year. So what this illustrates is that advertisers are no longer comparing the effectiveness of digital and TV media, but rather the categories of advertising that offer sight, sound, and motion assets, no matter what the screen. So let's look at some key market observations here. So video, these are some things we found by different sources out there and things that we've done internally, and then sources from major publications, that video is the fastest growing format within the online advertising category. That's a given. It's growing like crazy. High CPMs are the most limiting factor of growth of video. So I think with display and different things we've done, there's been a little sticker shock when it comes to the CPMs of video, but the value of video is the engagement of video. You're engaged in the content. And just like TV, we need to be thinking about it differently than display. We need to be thinking about it like TV, different things where it's all about the engagement. The person is engaged in that act. It's not just something, an ad that is, on the top or the side or the bottom. It's something that you're engaged in, and that's really the value of video. More than 40% of online videos are now available through programmatic. That will continue to increase and see a big jump for this next year. The most active online video advertisers are in the consumer goods, auto, retail, and entertainment, followed by telecom, finance, and travel. Makes total sense, right? Consumer goods, CPG, auto were really the people who made sense to get in this first because of their TV background. Behavioral targeting is deemed as the most valuable form of targeting. This is growing very quickly. 36% of marketers and agencies retarget consumers through video. Retargeting video can be a great way to be able to use retargeting to further engage somebody and get them more involved in the process. And measurement still remains an issue. Advertisers are still trying to figure out what is the best measurement, how we can look at it from TV or how we can look at it from digital. How do we sort of take those together and figure it out? So let's look at Chango's programmatic video solution real quick and how we're working programmatic into the video world. So when you're looking at Chango's video, Chango's solution means data, technology, and people working together. So we're leveraging the power of data, including intent data as well as first-party data and third-party data. So we're taking this programmatic approach with all this data. We're able to have that data communicate to each other. And not even do that, but also be able to look at real-time decisions and make sure that we're making the right decisions on the data, whether it's the right delivery of the ad, maybe the right type of unit, maybe the right price, because not every prospect, not every impression should be looked at the same way or at the same price. So we really need to look at that and understand that the power of being able to understand all of the data, be able to make real-time decisions on that data, and also be able to look at the real-time decisions when it comes to what we should charge, what we should pay for an impression, and how we should deliver that. But then also being able to have the reach, being able to get out there and be able to have the reach that you want with much more targeted reach. So there are a lot of wasted impressions out there, and just because you can get a lot of impressions out there isn't really the right way of looking at it. You really have to look at the value of the impressions and be able to deliver the correct impressions. So how it works. So we see millions of profiles across premium inventory sources, and we leverage real-time data for targeting to qualify and reach the audience. So we also bid against that decision, making it in real time. So when you look at this with Saks Fifth Avenue here, so we're looking at reaching a goal of reaching an income of $75K and with an intent for fashion. So how are we going about that? Well, first of all, we're looking at the reach and scale of all of our partners and be able to get out to the right people in the right network and the right site. But we're also being able to take the real-time data and audience profiles and targeting to be able to understand who is that right person. Who is the right person we should be reaching? So some of these people that fall into these profiles are the right person, some are not. But we're not bucketing them or segmenting them. So like many companies do, they're going to segment people or bucket people based on different behaviors or observations, and they're going to just make decisions based on those buckets. And that's not necessarily a programmatic way to do it. So when we're looking at a programmatic approach, we're looking at each individual as an individual and making decisions based on that individual, whether it be their search data, whether it be third-party data for fashion intent or luxury. We're looking at that data all in one and being able to make a decision on that prospect. Also with being able to decide what prospect is worth what when it comes to an efficient pricing. So, one prospect may be ready to buy something, go to Saks and buy some shoes right now. Another may be a person that wants to get on a drip, and it's going to take a few days longer to be able to make that sale. So really you got to look at, not everybody should be treated the same. Not everybody should be looked at the same, whether it comes from pricing or whether it comes from targeting. So we need to look at individuals differently and separately, and that's what we do so well at Chango. So, see here, time here, all right. So, big data. So if you're ignoring big data, you're at your peril. So we have come up with this idea of big data, And let us as digital marketers, we love that we came up with this, but companies have been dealing with big data way before most of us were even around. So big data is really just more data, right? So it's just more data than we're using today. We've all been using data. The problem is that it's really hard to get to. So where is it and how we can use it? Is it on your site? Is it in your CRM system? Or even offline in rows and rows of files, or in the back room? Where is this data? The main thing is it's not actionable, right? So it's very difficult to bring it together and make it useful. That is where programmatic marketing comes in and can help big data. The promise of it is to make all that data actionable and make our marketing programs more efficient. So you as a marketer can actually get something done and do it quickly. Instead of talking to the crowds, now we can talk to an individual. So, sorry, I went up once. All right, there's a slide coming up there. All right, so multiple sources of data, how we use multiple sources of data to do this. So a company's data can come from several sources. And in the past, each of these represented separate marketing opportunities that had to be executed separately. I mean, when you did try to combine it, it was messy, hard to manage. A lot of it had to be reconciled manually. When you got to evaluating the performance, it was a real nightmare, right? So really, I'm going to break this down into a couple of first-party data, which is what you know you have in your customers. So what you have from your customers, CRM data, your past transactions, your site visits. So for example, with CRM data, we can match it to an online cookie, and about 50% of that time we can find that person and engage with them online. So several times I've done this with retailers where, you know, maybe they make money on the second purchase, not the first. So we need to find out who are those people that made the first purchase and be able to target those people in an effective manner to be able to try to further that relationship and build them into long-term customers. So that's one thing we can do with it. Also with Chango, you know, as I mentioned before, we own the largest compiling of search data next to Google. So that is our data when it comes to third-party data. That's something that we bring into the mix, and many of our customers, that's what they're using to be able to help with that. But also when it comes to third-party data, you know, you have sources like BlueKai, X8, MasterCard, and this data comes in many types of forms, from demographic to vertical specific to purchase behavior. So really the great thing about it is we can be able to take all these different data and understand also the device that's being that we want to deliver on, and be able to take that all into account prior to buying an impression, prior to delivering an ad. So you can then take all of that data, and the goal is, right, to execute programs from it. And we can do that across all different media, whether it's display, video, social, or mobile, and do it with reach. And that's the key. All of this data means nothing unless we can execute on it. And the fact that we can take all this data and make sure it's fresh and ongoing, making sure that it's the most updated data, and then in milliseconds be able to take action on it and buy inventory based on that. That's really what a fully managed program is at scale, and that's what we'd like to do. All right, so I want to take you through a little bit of what this looks like from a programmatic experience when it comes to video and action. So when you look at, let's call him Bill here. So Bill is looking for a Halloween costume last minute for a party he's going to. So we also want to maybe tie in some, you know, we're going to use some search data. We're going to know he searched for Halloween costume on Google, let's say. And also we really want to tie this into, our client really wants to be able to look at people 30, 35, making 80K household income. And so we're going to pull in some third-party data to be able to filter through to be able to further look at that. So we're looking at the search intent, we're looking at some third-party data, and then we're going to make a decision on that. Well, okay, we found Bill out here that looks like a great person for us to be able to target with an ad for our Halloween store. And Bill goes from Google then. He doesn't click on our link on our site or any of our AdWords ads or anything like that. He goes straight to YouTube because there's actually some content there showing the hippest, coolest costumes for 2013. So as he's looking into YouTube and he goes to that video ad, we're going to notify and understand that, hey, Bill just came from Google. He's a perfect person for us to be able to target with that, and we're going to bid on that ad, pre-roll ad there in YouTube. And then we have a companion banner there on the side too. So it's really a great experience for him because he's getting exactly what he wants. He's seeing the content he wants. He's seeing advertising that he wants to see, that he's interested in at that moment in time. And we also can look at a lot of other profile data to understand not just what he did at that moment on Google, but what has he done prior to that? How long has he been looking for this Halloween costume? What other places has he been looking for it? So it's really a great experience for the user and for the advertiser and a way to really make video, which was much more branding in the past, much more executable and targetable for many different methods to use it. So now I want to pass it over to Sarah to talk about some creative best practices, and hopefully Sarah can hear me, and we will go from there.
Yes, I can hear you. Thanks, Casey. Hi, everybody. I'm super glad to see this turnout for this presentation. I'm really excited to talk about creative. And in my role as a creative group director at Booyah, I've been a part of concepting and producing original pre-roll, as well as cutting down and editing existing assets that our clients have. So my hope is that my experiences in this can help you guys get started on the right foot and make some really effective advertising for this medium. I put together 5 quick tips that I can think of as best practices. We're going to take questions at the end, and of course, if you want to have an offline conversation, you can feel free to reach me directly. But just these tips that I wanted to review, and we'll talk about each in detail, is don't recycle your television content, and we'll talk about why. Using the right length of video for the job at hand. The ever important need to include a call to action in this video itself. Considering the landing pages as part of the user experience, and know the specs. These are things that we want to make sure that all of these things are being addressed as you're thinking about the all-important video. Obviously, as Casey mentioned, we're spending a lot of time and investing a lot in finding our friend Bill. We want to make sure that now we have that impression and we're serving the video that it does its job as an effective piece of advertising in persuading him to take action. So moving forward, let's see here. Let's talk a little bit about recycling. Basically, there's a lot of things that you need to think about as an advertiser. All these best practices that we're touching on are eventually going to become a brief for your agency or your internal or external production partner. Often these teams really aren't familiar with creating these assets, and so the onus is on you to have really good planning and organization to make sure that you're handing off a good assignment to that partner internally. And a lot of times we know that you're starting with an existing asset, right? And we have to be pragmatic. You've invested a lot in a television spot, and you want to use it. That's a natural, that's natural, and there's lots of reasons for it, but we have to understand that we have this special opportunity. This digital medium is different from television. There's opportunities to talk to someone for the first time who's just a prospect, but then there's also an opportunity to invest in someone who, through retargeting. So we want to make sure that when we tell a story, we're really using this opportunity to advance someone through the consideration cycle, and using that television commercial, which was really a shout at the crowd message, may not be your best approach. That said, if you have to, we want to make sure that we are still being effective in the advertising and telling the story, that we're being persuasive, and we have call to actions. And that can be very challenging because your television spot is probably a minute or 30 seconds. We're probably going to end up needing to create a 30-second or a 15-second spot, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But with that, we also have to have time for your calls to action. So a 30-second spot really is going to be a 25-second spot with a 5-second end cap, and a 15-second spot is probably going to be a 12-second spot with a 3-second end cap. So you really have to consider, along with your production partner, how you're going to be able to cut down the story. You also are going to have to think about your voiceover. So how will you edit your voiceover so it goes along with your revised story that you're telling? And all of these details are going to go into that all-important brief. The most ideal scenario is not to start with an existing asset or a cut down. And in fact, to actually, before you're in a production mode, think about and budget for scripting and production of original content that you'll use in this digital pre-roll environment. This is such a great opportunity to talk to an existing customer in a different way, to talk to a retargeted visitor who's maybe farther down the consideration funnel in a different way. So I would really encourage you to look at your media plan and create original pre-roll content that will compel your audience at different stages of the consideration cycle. Again, it's an ideal situation, and I know everyone's not there, so sometimes we do have to recycle. And the reality is actually there are times when recycling makes sense. There's a really great study here where Google is exploring the relationship between television ads and YouTube video. And what they found was in testing recall amongst groups that were exposed to 15 and 30-second spots, when there's a television ad in market and it's also running along with YouTube exposure, you can have 2x higher ad recall when they're used together. So it does make sense in some cases to reuse that television ad to echo what they're seeing in an offline environment. But of course, we still want to do that in a smart way and be compelling to our audience. So moving forward to my next rule of thumb, I did want to say always test. So I would really recommend doing a 15, and I would recommend doing a 30. And it does cost more money, but this is really an important consideration when you're thinking about the length of advertising. With your CTAs, we are going to be online. So this is a special opportunity to drive a click-through and to, again, persuade that user with more information. So the first rule of thumb is to always include branding from the very first second of your video. Remember, some video content is skippable. So if you haven't made sort of an actual impact with that first 5 seconds of video, at least on YouTube, you may end up having users skip. So having that static brand logo on your video content is very important. We recommend either a little bug in the bottom right-hand corner or an overlay. And you'll see that where it's a little transparent overlay at the bottom of the screen, which can include a call to action, and it can include just some branding content. We will also always recommend that end cap that I was talking about. So you're cutting down your video to allow kind of a slate or a little bit of information at the end of the video that sort of has some branding and generally has a call to action like click here or click or call, that kind of a thing. We'll look at some examples of those. Always the best case is to have a voiceover that echoes the same call to action. We know that users are more likely to click when the audio tells them to click. So that's something that's an important opportunity. And we'll also, at the end of this discussion, I'll show you some video that has some more interactive calls to action that are also an interesting opportunity with digital video. An important aspect of the online opportunity is that what we really want to do is drive users to the next part of our story. The digital video is a lot like the digital display ad. It really prompts the click. It's beginning the conversation, and I call that the first creative. There's another Chango webinar about why the creative still matters. It's a long discussion of this creative framework, but very briefly, the first creative is the display ad, or even the paid search ad, and in this case a pre-roll ad that starts telling the story. We're asking the user to click, and then we want to seal the deal by sending them to a relevant landing page that continues the story and pays off the promise. When you click on something and you land someplace that doesn't seem to make sense, that can be a showstopper. So we want to drive the conversion event by being as relevant as possible. And of course, with digital, there's opportunities to continue that conversation sequentially. So I can serve a sequence of video ads that continue with more story or more information over time. It's one of the most interesting parts of what we can do with online video. And then the last and very important, but a little bit dry, part of the creative best practices is to know the specs. So when you're creating this this creative brief that's going to go to your production partner, it's very important that you are clear about what exactly they're going to be delivering to you. And that means all the way from what are the aspect ratios and the sizes, the end cap copy, the voiceover copy. These details are very important, and by getting it right at the beginning and being very organized and thoughtful, this will save you money and help you to avoid missteps that can actually delay your campaigns or unfortunately be expensive. I know that Chango, whenever you're a new advertiser, will send you specifications that are very clear, and you'll also have account director that can answer any questions that you may have. I thought it would be fun to actually take a look at some good examples of pre-roll and some actual interactive content that I think really illustrate some of these best practices. And you'll get to see sort of these examples that I'm talking about where you'll be able to see end caps, you'll be able to see overlays, you'll be able to see bugs. So I think that'll help you a lot. We're going to look at an ad for Esurance, and here on your screen in the lower corner you're going to see sort of the capture of the pre-roll, and then to the right is a companion ad. The companion ad is also an opportunity to add more information to your video story. Companion ads are often served with video. I know that's something that you can do with Chango, and it's a great ad unit, so I would recommend you use that. We included the URL in case you're having trouble viewing this. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop and play this video. Let's see, I'm going to make this full screen experience, and hopefully everyone can see everything. I'll be quiet while this plays, and we can talk about it in just a sec.
For every dollar car insurance companies say they'll save you by switching, you'd have like a ton of dollars. But how are they saving you those dollars? A lot of companies like answer or no comment. Here's Esurance. The one online raised by technology and measures efficiency. So whatever they save, you save. Hassle, time, paperwork, carrying out, and yes, especially dollars. Esurance. Insurance is a modern one. With a great home.
Great. So hopefully that was a good illustration of some of the things that they're doing very, very right. This is a recycled spot. They've done it very well. And I think there are a couple things that really stood out to me. It's very interesting right away. Within the first 5 seconds, you've seen the branding of Esurance, and there's lots of fast cuts that gets you right into the story immediately. The voiceover mentions the brand persistently through the ad. It really speaks to the user in the environment they're in. So, you see a person who's surfing online and they're actually clicking on the website. So it's very relevant, and it speaks to the person in the place that they are. I love that the end cap is very clear. It has a great call to action. And the voiceover also does exactly what it should do, which is to say click or call now. The companion ad really adds a lot of value, showing the $522 savings. And you also will see, when you go to the landing page, that it really does pay off the promise. And let me show you that right now. So once you click through that ad, if you followed the directions of the voiceover, you land here, and it immediately prompts you to get that quote. So I think that's a really, really strong example of a great pre-roll spot. Very straightforward, but does the basics right. And then the next example is really one that's a more engaging unit. This is something that my agency produced. And this is a unit that was a retargeting unit, so someone who had actually already visited dish.com but who hadn't converted. So in this case, what we try to do is give a more robust experience and add opportunities for that user to direct their own experience into areas that they were interested in. So I'll go ahead and also show that. Let's see here. So this was the ad unit itself.
Yes, we got this new HD DVR offer. Let's just record up to 6 shows at once and play them back in any room. The Hopper. Yeah, the Hopper. The Hopper. 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 The Hopper.
In this case, you can see that we had that little bug that sort of was hopping and encouraging me to interact. And then I have now expanded this unit, and it essentially takes me into a more microsite-like experience and lets me direct my own time towards things that are interesting to me. So we have different videos that talk about aspects of the Hopper DVR, explains some of the features that are brand new to market that no one else has, and I can then spend some time watching those. So for example,
the Hopper works for you. I mean, it does the work for you. Only the Hopper by Dish comes with prime time anytime. This optional feature can...
As you can see, this is a pretty robust experience. I can actually look at packages within the unit, and I can even click through to the website to see details where I'm going to be prompted to buy. So it's adding, I think, a lot of value to the experience. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and play this through so you can see the end caps and the CTAs. Just one moment.
Hopper. Dish introduces the Hopper, a whole home HD DVR that lets you record up to 6 shows at once and play them back in any room. And it's free when you sign up for Dish.
So I think that's an example of a really more in-depth engagement unit. You can see how you can serve assets to different segments of your audience, in this case someone who is a little bit more in the consideration cycle, and adding a lot of value to let them have their own experience in navigating through the content. So I think this unit is effective at that. It has good calls to action, and the landing page, as you see there's a little screenshot of it here, I think is also a very good landing page which drives either more research or conversion right here. So I hope those are really good examples for you of some of these tips in action, and I will pass the baton back to Casey. If you have any questions, please let me know, and you're welcome to reach out to me directly. Casey?
Yeah, I'm here. So thanks, guys. Sorry we're running a little late. Totally my fault. Sometimes I talk too much, I guess. But just want to give you a couple of reminders here. So again, we can stay around and take some questions if you would like, and also we'll get back to you with any questions. If you want to just email, you can email Casey at chango.com, or we'll also make sure you have Sarah's information as well. And also wanted to mention that at the end of the webinar we'll be recording. We've been recording this, and we're going to have the slide deck, and we'll have the YouTube page all up so you guys can access this, and also we'll be sending stuff out to you. So just wanted to remind you of that. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you got something out of it, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Please stand by.